Good morning, students. Today you're going to be going over order of operations with your substitute. So sorry I cannot be there with you today, but I will definitely be back on Monday. In your table of contents, I want you to go ahead and write down Unit 6, Order of Ops. That's just short for operations. So we're reviewing PEMDAS today, and it will be page 108 in your math binder. Make sure you put those notes in your math binder and that you don't forget, or that you don't turn them into the basket. When looking at your notes, at the very top of the page, it says, Denise is learning to make cupcakes using her grandmother's recipe card, but accidentally dropped the card on the floor. Help Denise order the steps correctly below. So, here are a few different steps that we have here. It says combine flour and baking powder, add to the cream mixture and mix well. The next one says bake for 30 to 40 minutes in preheated oven for cupcakes. Bake 20 to 25 minutes. Next one says preheat oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 175 degrees Celsius. Then we have grease and flour a 9 by 9 inch pan, or fill a muffin pan with paper cups. Next one is in a medium bowl, cream together the sugar and the butter, beat the eggs one at a time, then stir in the vanilla. And then the following one is pour or spoon batter into the prepared pan. Okay, so I know whenever I make cupcakes, there's a very specific pattern in which you get everything ready. So, number one is going to be to preheat your oven. You want to warm up your oven so that it's ready to go by the time you're done putting all of your ingredients together. So number one is going to be to preheat the oven. Next, you're going to want to put all of your ingredients together, and you always want to mix together your wet ingredients first with your dry ingredients. So number two would be in a medium bowl, cream together the sugar and the butter. Beat the eggs one at a time. Those are all wet ingredients. Next would be to combine your flour and baking powder. Add to the cream mixture and mix well, right? So we know this would have to be number 3 because we're adding it to our creamed mixture. Next would be for us to grease and flour a 9 by 9 inch pan. So that's number 4. Then you're going to want to pour in your cupcake mix into the prepared pan, and then you're going to want to bake it for the 30 to 40 minutes in the preheated oven. Okay. So all of that to say, what we're talking about here is putting things in order, in a very specific order. And that's how order of operations works. Because when solving order of operations problems, if you do not solve it in a very specific way and follow those exact orders, you can end up with the wrong answer. So let's go ahead and fill out our vocab. In the very top, the first bullet, it says order of operations provides a order for simplifying expressions so that all answers are the same, so that you can get the right answer, essentially. Now, there are various helpful ways for us to remember our order. Some are, and the one that we use the most is PEMDAS. They're acronyms. Okay, it helps you remember exactly what thing to look for in your expression and where to start when you have addition, division, exponents, and parentheses. Okay, so that's what we're going to stick with today is PEMDAS. It says use the visual to determine which operation should be performed first in the table below. So remember, with PEMDAS, P at the very top stands for parentheses. So we always do the operation that's inside of our parentheses first. If there's nothing inside of your parentheses because it's just telling you it's a negative number, then you do not solve the parentheses first. You move on to exponents. That's our second number. Okay, remember exponents are the cute little number. You got a base number, and it tells you repeated addition. The little number off to the right is going to be your exponent. Then we do multiplication and division, working left to right. So whichever one comes first in the problem. And then you move on to addition and subtraction, working left to right. So we're not going to solve the questions off to the right here. What we are going to do is just write down what our first step would be. What would you solve first? So let's identify the different operations that I have in each problem. First, I have some parentheses here, 15 minus 4. Inside of my parentheses, I have subtraction, so I do actually have an operation that I have to perform or something that I have to solve in those parentheses. So that is most definitely what I would do first. And then I would move on to my multiplication of 9 after solving 15 minus 4. So my first step is going to be parentheses. For the next problem, I have division happening between my 18 and my 6, so 18 divided by 6. And then I have multiplication between my 6 and my 5. So I know that if there's no parentheses and no exponents in my problem, I would move directly to multiplication and division next. Now those happen working left to right. So you would have to solve for division first before you do multiplication. So our first step would be division, since it comes up first in the problem, working left to right. That's what we would solve for first. For the third problem, we have the quantity of 14 divided by 2, or in parentheses, 14 divided by 2, plus 3 to the third power. So I have parentheses, I have addition, and I have exponents going on here. If I follow my PEMDAS, my order of operations, within my parentheses, I have 14 over 2, or 14 divided by 2. So that is an operation that I have to perform, something that I have to solve. So therefore, parentheses again would come first. And then I would move on to my exponent, 3 to the third power, or 3 cubed. Then I would add the two values. For our fourth problem, we have 2 to the fourth power. So that's an exponent. Then we have subtraction, minus 15. And then we have addition. And then in parentheses, we have 12 to the second power, or 12 squared, minus 4. So we have a couple of different operations actually happening in the parentheses. Again, we have parentheses here, so that would be the first thing that we would have to solve for. And within those parentheses, we would have to solve 12 squared first before we subtract from 4. Because even within your parentheses, you still follow your order of operations, and exponents comes before subtraction. So I want you to write parentheses, and then I want you to put a slash and say exponent first, so that you know you solve the parentheses first, but even within the parentheses, you got to do the exponent first before you subtract. And then finally, we have the quantity, or 4 times 8 over 5 minus 3. Okay, so there's a lot happening here. We've got multiplication between 4 and 8. And then we have our fraction bar, which always means division. And then we have 5 minus 3. So when you have a problem like this, what you're going to do first is always solve the top part of your problem. Okay, and then you would move on to solving the bottom part of your problem, and then you would solve the fraction. Okay, so what we would do first is 4 times 8. That's going to be the first thing that we do. Okay, then you would do 5 minus 3, and then you would divide the two values from each other. So I know that that may seem counterintuitive. It may seem like you're going against PEMDAS. But if you have a fraction and there are operations happening at the top of your fraction and at the bottom of your fraction, you need to do those first. So you would solve the top of your fraction first, then the bottom of your fraction, and then divide the two values. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me on Schoology today. And if you need assistance with your worksheet that you're supposed to do after this, please go back and watch the video yesterday on prime factorization. All the best to you, and I'll see you guys on Monday.